I'm gonna do like a whole video part where it's gonna be called The Spot, and that's gonna explain deeper into stories that, where my art came from. Um, but this part, I don't even know what I'm gonna call this, but I'm just gonna put like little glimpses and pieces of like parts of my life that made me feel in depth with creating that art. And I was thinking about my youth. I was thinking about like people. There was only 3 women that I felt, and I felt them differently. I didn't feel them the same way, and I was thinking about why I felt them in that way, because it was very weird. The first woman, there was 3 women. It was the first woman I've ever was, living a love romantic story with, but I knew I wasn't in love with her, because that's not love. The second woman, we did talk in depth, but she never spoke it into existence to me, even though like physically she did, and we had a huge bond and connection. And then the third woman that I felt was that was in between knowing the second woman. I met this woman as well in that time period, time frame, but she was my friend, you know, more so. But I was thinking about why did I feel for them, right? And it's so weird because then I started thinking, wow, this is weird. Okay, the first woman, I felt for her when we kissed. And I was thinking about, well, verbally, she told me she wanted to be with me. Verbally, she spoke it into existence. She didn't resist it. She right away, and I'll talk about her on here. In my other video playlist that I'm gonna put on here, explaining in depth of where my art is coming from and the things that I've been through with my sexuality, because mainly that's what I'm here to talk about, is the freedom of being your higher self. And that's what should really matter, because that's what you're here to shape yourself. You're not here to shape God. God is already, like I said, scriptures are something that are in the law, and that's crazy because we're using that weapon against us and not for us. Like, yeah, the Bible talks about that is a sword. The word of God is like a sword, but it's being used to kill people more than to save people. And it also says in the Bible itself that there will be surprises in heaven. Some people think they're going to enter and they're not, and I could imagine, because the things that we're going through and the things that people believe that are righteousness. But anyways, back to my spiritual encounters with, why I felt for these 3 women, and there was no one else I felt for besides these 3 women, and I experienced what I felt for them different, and it was I felt for them for what they, allow me to see of them, their sincere sides. And the first lady, like I said, I always felt her kiss. Every time we kissed, I felt it in depths, in the deepest part of my soul. But the other stuff that we did, I never felt it. And it was so weird. We touched, we caressed, we did a lot of things. And I didn't feel it. And it wasn't because I was intimidated now thinking about it. And I was actively sexual with more than 3 women. Just don't remember it. And I don't find that it didn't move me in any way or form to shape me, except for these 3 experiences. And it wasn't because of appearance. It was more so because of the openness between me and the person. So my experience with them, not theirs because I can't speak for them, but my experience, what I felt when it happened, was the first woman, not the first person I kissed, but because of the way she spoke to me, she was very open. I felt her kisses, which is weird. I felt the depths of myself when I kissed her. Because when we think about it, we're not there to feel the person. We're here to be revealed how we're growing as a person, even when we're connecting with others. And I think I gotta remind myself that too, because a lot of people, like I said, are belittling me, and I'm going through a lot of weird stuff. And I gotta remember, it's how I feel towards them that's gonna, give me the outcome of the situation, which is something that's hard for me to grasp, whole of again. Alright, so like the second person, I remember, we talked about a lot of spiritual things, and we were very open, even about our ex-partners, who we felt for, who we didn't. And we weren't jealous when we talked about these things. It just made us closer as humans to rely on each other. And I remember feeling like my soul was held. All of my inner self was held for the first time, to be still and feel safe. And I haven't felt that since I was a kid. And it wasn't even like romantic. Yes, I was attracted to her, but it was more so a spiritual counter. And I remember the first time I told her, we were in this room, and it was the first time we talked for hours, and I mean hours, because this service, it was at a church, and she was a youth leader there, could go on for like 5 hours. This man used to talk a lot. And I remember leaving that room refreshed, because I told her everything, and she told me everything about her. And I remember telling her, that I always felt for women because of, like, I wanted a spiritual encounter, even with the woman. I didn't just want to be there to have an experience here in this life, but I wanted to feel something within, that would mold me within. Because I don't believe in spiritual, I believe, in energy, but that would mold me within. And I felt like that was important. I've become, when you are aggressive, you could become so, like, I don't know, but around that time I wasn't, nowhere near where I am now. Like, I wasn't perfect, but I was being molded by, what I always wanted to experience. And it wasn't because of her or anyone, it was just because, I don't know, life allowed me, I don't know how, and I remember telling her that, and she was like that she was the same way. And, like I said, I did stuff with her. I mentioned her on here. She's like she was a youth leader from the church that I went to, and I'm gonna mention her even more on the other videos that are gonna be called The Spot. And the reason why I called those videos The Spot is because that's where I met real people at. There was this, we named it The Spot, but it was like different locations where me and like people that went through real circumstances hung out. Not to say, like, you could be rich and go through, real circumstances. Like, I'm not talking about money or not, but I'm talking about, like, they were okay to be vulnerable. That's what I'm talking about, real. And so was I. But yeah, so I named, my, where I'm gonna put like my stories and stuff, and like what I believe spiritually, spiritual moral should be relied on and based upon, on the videos that are gonna be called The Spot, and the playlist is gonna be called The Spot. And it's gonna be kind of weird, put in, because like I said, I've never been a direct person. I have trouble with communicating directly. I mostly used to communicate through art, and even in my art, I didn't communicate direct. It was all abstract. But yeah, so I always felt for that youth leader completely, body, mind, soul, everything. But when we touched, when she kissed me, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. And I didn't respond to her kiss because I didn't want to be fake. And I knew the reason was because she was in denial as well of what she was doing. She didn't want to, like, she would tell me and take it back. I would tell her and I would take it back. And I didn't know what her reason was. My reason was I didn't trust no one. And then there was a third person, which is someone I met in between. And I'd never, like, this person was real. She wasn't of church or anything like that. She was raw. And you asked her something, she knew, like, this person just knows how to talk. She knows the truth. She's truthful. And she knows how to express it. And I always wanted a person like that in my life. Like, I was like, whoa, like, this person is so fucking cool. But not cool like try hard. Like, cool like, how the fuck do you exist? Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is just a joke, but she'd probably say what you would want Jesus to say to you if you were praying. And that's kind of like how she was. Like, I would always talk to her, and afterwards I'll be like, wow, like, I'm not trying to see her as a therapist or anything, but like, this person is so cool. And like I said, we would have arguments. I'm not talking about a perfect relationship, but even those arguments pulled me out more than when she was being nice of what I was becoming. I was becoming something that wasn't me. And because she gave me expression with her bodies, with her gestures of what she was doing, when I touched her body, it was like mind-blowing for my mind. Like, I never felt anything like that. And it was her body. And the reason why I was responding to it is because she acted on what she was feeling, but she never spoke it. So also when I kissed her, I wouldn't feel it completely. I cannot lie. I was afraid to kiss her because fear got in the way. I'm not gonna lie, it was fear. It wasn't because I wasn't attracted to her, but her body. I never touched another woman and felt like what I felt for her body. And it's weird because when I started thinking about it, well, she always acted like she liked me. She would pick me up. She would treat me like a human being. You know, she was direct. She didn't hide that we did things. We would talk about it, but we didn't say we wanted to be together. We never, even when we did, we'd take it back, but we knew why. There was a lot of differences between us in religion and a lot of other stuff. But it was so weird that my chemicals, my brain picked that up. Like, the brain has so much power to know. Like, when I started thinking today, I'm like, wow, but she always, like, went out of her way for me. Gestures. She bought me, like, you know, she bought me, like, this crystal, which is the reason why I got into crystals. She would give me, like, some of her crystals from her room. She, you know, she acted on it. She moved towards me with gestures, and I felt for her body, like, and she would move towards me, like, she would be far away in a different place, and she would come all the way over here and still make time for me, even though we weren't even that close, and we were talking in a deep level. So I never felt anything, you know, when I kissed her, which is weird, but she never spoke it into existence. So when I kissed her, there was resistance there. So it's weird how the mind works. When you want to be in depths, your brain does these things. And then there was like I said, with the spiritual lady, I felt her completely because we talked about a huge thing. But then when we touched, because she never embodied it, she never spoke it into existence, there was resistance, and I couldn't feel her when we hugged. But I hold her tightly because I didn't want, she used to hold me tightly, matter of fact, but when we hugged and stuff like that. But I felt like a strong connection when she did that, but I didn't feel her sexually. Like, I didn't feel her, like, romantically. When we hugged, when she kissed me in my mouth, like, I didn't feel her. And I was questioned, but why? Because when I thought about her romantically, I was like, am I nervous? Was that the reason? I wasn't nervous. It's just she didn't speak it into existence for me to actually not create resistance and feel safe to kiss her back and feel safe to hug her, feel safe to do all these other things. Just like the first girl that I was intimate with, I felt safe to kiss her because she was fine. She told me, yeah, I like you. And I told her I like you too, and every time we kissed, it was gorgeous. Like, I felt it. But when it was to other things, I created resistance because we didn't speak it into existence. That's so weird how the brain works. But I was just thinking about all that, and it sucks that I can't have, like, a woman where I felt all these things for. And I haven't. I'm not saying that I can't. I just haven't, and I've been around for so long, and I just still haven't had that. But hopefully, me, you know, talking about these things will help me open up to these things and have, like, an experience like that in my future where I'm not afraid to be vulnerable, and the other person isn't either. Because to be vulnerable, it's good if it's, you know, processed the right way.